Namaste, welcome to Pythagoras Academy. This is Vikram Dachepally. What is this three-dimensional reality that we as humans perceive? Why are scientists and physicists trying to explore different dimensions beyond this three-dimensional reality? What is the pathway to quantum physics? All these things I'll try to discuss in this video briefly within my limitations. In order to locate a point in space, to specify the position of a point in space, we make use of Cartesian coordinate system, x, y, z. It means choosing an origin, any reference point. So from that origin, moving x units along the horizontal. Then from there, y units along the vertical. And z units perpendicular to the screen. So x units along the horizontal, y along the vertical, and z units along the thickness are perpendicular to the screen as you see. So you reach this point x, y, z. That is the meaning of x, y, z. For example, if you enter a room, you can choose the corner of the room to be origin, your reference point. In order to talk about a specific point within the space of the room, you can say move, say 2 meters along the horizontal, 3 meters along the vertical, then 5 meters along the thickness. You would reach that point 2, 3, 5. So these three coordinates are actually three dimensions. One dimension is along the length, the other dimension is along the breadth, the other third dimension is along the thickness of the system. For example, if you are looking at a car on a road, so there's a road and there's a car. For an observer who is observing this car, at a given instant of time, if you freeze the time, the car is at this position in space. So the coordinates of this car are say x, y, z with respect to some origin of the observer. So observer, he has got some origin. With respect to his origin, the coordinates are x, y, z. These are the three space coordinates of the reality that he is observing. Plus, there is a time stamp to it. He is observing this car at a particular instant of time. So if you freeze, if you take the snapshot, that is the exact reality that the observer is observing at that instant of time. So we call this as space-time reality. So three space coordinates or three space dimensions plus one time dimension will form this space-time reality. With respect to this observer, his reality is this car at that particular instant of time. Next instant, the car is not at this position. The coordinates have changed. The location of the car in the space have changed. So the reality is continuously changing. So observer is observing the reality and reality is continuously changing with time. And now the question arises, is the observer at a given instant of time able to observe the total reality? I would say no. He is only able to observe a part of the total reality because he has got certain limitations to perceive the reality as it is. Now let me explain this with an example. Say I'll take a line, straight line. So this is a straight line. Straight line has got only one dimension, that is a length dimension. It has got length. So we call straight line as a one-dimensional thing. So this is a 1D object or a 1D thing, a straight line. It has got length, which you can clearly see, and breadth of the straight line is tending to 0 and thickness of the straight line is tending to 0. And I'm consciously using the phrase tending to 0. Breadth is not equal to 0. I'm not saying a breadth is equal to 0. I cannot say breadth is equal to 0 because if the breadth of the straight line is 0, then the line wouldn't exist at all. Because the meaning of 0 is nothing. So if the breadth is 0, then the straight line does not exist at all. So definitely there is a breadth. If the thickness of the straight line is 0, it wouldn't exist at all. So definitely there is thickness, but it is tending to 0. Maybe the breadth is 0.000000001 meter. Very, very, very small. It is not that significant for practical purposes. Or there is breadth whose magnitude is very, very less, and I am not able to perceive, we are not able to perceive the breadth or thickness of this line. So we are calling it one-dimensional thing, but is it really one-dimensional thing? No. The other two dimensions are tending to 0, or we are not able to perceive other two dimensions. We are only able to perceive clearly one dimension of this line, that is length. Similarly, if you take a rectangular plate, it has got certain length and breadth, which we are able to perceive, we are able to see, we are able to touch, feel, but coming to thickness, it is negligible or tending to 0, or we are not able to perceive the thickness. So we are able to perceive only two dimensions of this object, so we call it as a two-dimensional object. But is the two-dimensional object really two-dimensional? No, there is third dimension, but we are not able to perceive it, or it is not significant for our practical purposes. Now, we as human beings have the capability of perceiving up to 3 dimensions clearly. Suppose if you are taking a cube, it has got certain length, certain breadth, and certain thickness. All 3 are significant. We can perceive. So we are calling it as a 3D object, 3-dimensional object. So the reality, what we perceive, we have the capacity to perceive all these 3 dimensions. Now the question is the 3-dimensional object really 3-dimensional? The answer would be no. There could be another dimensions which we are not able to perceive. Just like for a line, definitely it is very clear that there are other 2 dimensions, but we are not able to perceive. If the other 2 dimensions become 0, then the line wouldn't exist. Without the other 2 dimensions, without breadth and thickness, the length would not exist. Without thickness, length and breadth would not exist. So without other dimensions beyond these 3 dimensions, what we can perceive and experience, this 3-dimensional world would not exist at all. So that is the reason there is the possibility of other higher dimensions. But our senses, our experience capability is so limited to this 3-dimensional world. If we go beyond 3 dimensions, what we can experience, suppose if we have the senses which can experience something beyond 3 dimensions, definitely the kind of experiences that we can have will be phenomenal. It is a hypothetical situation. For example, let me take an example of an ant. Say this is a 1-dimensional world. Hypothetically, consider a 1-dimensional world. There is only length to it, and there are 1-dimensional beings like ants. They are 1-dimensional ants. So all they have is only length. So they can only move to and fro. It's like right and left in this 1-dimensional world. So if an ant has to move from A to B, one end of the 1-dimensional world to the other end, there is no other way but it has to travel all the way from A to B along this line. Suppose if we are able to fold this line such that A and B can meet, this ant, which takes years and years of time to reach B, instantaneously it can reach B. So this becomes 2-dimensional. If this 1-dimensional world becomes 2-dimensional, if the 1-dimensional beings have the capabilities of this 2-dimensional world, then the experience is completely changed. What appears to be impossible here is pretty much possible here. Within seconds, it can reach from A to B. Similarly, for example, our shadows. We have our shadows. So we are 3-dimensional beings. We have certain length, breadth, and thickness, and our shadows are 2-dimensional. Our shadows are 2-dimensional, So there is no thickness to the shadows. Suppose if shadows are living beings, hypothetically, so they would see us like three-dimensional beings, and what we are capable of doing is like magical to these two-dimensional shadow beings, hypothetically. So similarly, if we can go beyond these three dimensions, if we can perceive something beyond these three dimensions, our capabilities, the quality of experience that we have will be completely different from what we are currently experiencing. Based on this hypothesis, we have got different superhero movies like Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, all these Marvel movies. So where so Ant-Man, he can reduce his size to a very, very small body, and he can get into a different realm of reality. So they have got different things to do because they are able to perceive different dimensions beyond this three-dimensional reality. Of course, that is a movie which is hypothetical, but this is this is the concept of this three-dimensional reality. All I mean to say is that what we see, what we experience is not total. There's something much more to it, much and much higher to it. But because of our limitations of sensing and experiencing, we are only able to see a part of totality, a part of total reality. So we are able to see different objects around us. We are able to see different colors around us. And you pretty well know that if you are able to see some color, electromagnetic radiation of that particular wavelength is entering our eye, and eye is sending a signal to the brain. Brain is able to interpret that color. Suppose if I see a red color here, this is reflecting red, and that red wavelength is entering my eye, and I'm able to see this red color. Now the question is the only red wavelength entering my eye? No. There are many wavelengths around me. So basically, it is all electromagnetic radiation. So this electromagnetic radiation will have wide range of wavelengths, and our eye is able to sense only a short range of wavelengths, which we call it as visible region, from violet to red. Beyond violet, we have ultraviolet region, and beyond red, we have infrared region. So those wavelengths are there around us, but we are not able to sense. Similarly, same applies for sound waves. There are many frequencies around us, traveling around us in the form of waves, but our human ear has got certain capacity to grasp or to sense a limited range of frequencies. We call it as sonic range, frequencies which we can hear. So beyond which our ear has no capability of sensing or processing that frequency. So out of many things happening around us, because of the limitation of our senses and our experience capability, we are only experiencing and seeing and hearing the limited reality, the part of reality. So this exactly paved the path to the quantum physics. It blew the minds of the scientists when they found that an electron is able to, the same electron is existing at two different places simultaneously, which cannot be explained by classical physics. It blew the minds of the scientists initially when they observed this. So from here, we have got the Schrodinger's wave equation, and we have got different concepts like quantum tunneling, parallel universes, and different things. And we just started our journey of this modern physics. We just started this exploring the quantum physics. So there are many, many years to go, and many, many surprises to see. So this is all about our three-dimensional reality. So all I mean to say that we are very, very limited beings as humans. So in the next video, I'll come up with some other interesting topic Thank you so much. If you have any questions or queries or suggestions, you can always use the comment section to interact with me. I'll be more than happy to respond and receive your feedback. This is Vikram Dachepally signing off. Namaste.